welcome to the 6ixabou podcast, where we discuss all the up-to-date news on Caribou. We have a special episode for you all today. We are going to be discussing the important topic of caribou conservation and the natural resource extraction industry. We're going to answer the question of, is the economic benefit of the expansion of the oil and gas industry in Canada worth the negative consequences on the caribou population? In other words, money or caribou? This podcast is sponsored by Shell and Santa's Reindeers.
Thank you to my co-host Rahul. Yeah, welcome guys. I'm Maitra, the other host. On the pro-caribou side, we got environmental semi-professionals, almost experts in the field, probably sons of David Suzuki, David and Donny.
Thanks for having us here, man. Thank you.
And over on the pro-oil side, we have invited Western Canada's oil industry and economy specialists, Kyle and Zander.
Thanks. Good morning.
Who both have the highest oil sale numbers in the world.
Right, so just a rundown, caribou conservation attempts have been unsuccessful as the species is continually endangered. The caribou population decrease supposedly involved the extraction industry, such as oil, coal, and mining in Western Canada.
Alright, then let's begin with the pro-oil side's input.
You want to know why the oil industry is so important? In 2014 alone, the oil industry provided over 400,000 jobs, according to a study done by the University of Calgary. The oil and gas industry can provide skilled labor work for many blue-collar men.
Okay,
but chill, David, let me finish. In our declining economy, an increase in jobs is crucial to sustain the lives and allow families proper financial support. According to Statistics Canada, between 2021 and 2023, inflation rates spiked to 8%. Families can't afford common necessities, and lower-income households can't afford even common goods. They're lacking proper child support, which eventually leads to family endangerment.
Well, do you know who isn't lacking child support?
Who?
Caribou, Zander.
That's enough.
Caribou don't have children because they're dead, Zander.
That's a bit too far.
Yeah, many households are dependent on the oil and gas industry. It is responsible for nearly 10% of the GDP of Canada in 2014, according to a Chinese study done on the Canadian oil and gas industry. Environmental policies like habitat conservation will definitely increase the cost of production of oil and reduce the GDP of Canada. The most direct effect of this is increased gas prices, which we are seeing today. It wouldn't be a surprise if fuel prices would go up beyond $2 per liter.
Yeah, especially with inflation, costs are always varying, so we can't really tell what things are going to cost day by day, especially like gas prices, food prices. Yeah, we might be saving a small population of caribou, but we are destroying the whole economy and our livelihoods.
Alright, appreciate the yap, boys. What does the pro-caribou side have to argue?
Alright, well, we understand your perspective, I guess, but these jobs being created are at a great cost of caribou populations, alright? The 2022 paper by Hebel has shown a strong connection of oil wells and the decline of caribou. They found that there's been 50,000 oil wells drilled since 2000, mostly in Alberta.
Wait, what about other provinces that aren't Alberta?
Well, doofus, it's on Alberta, but we can apply it to the other provinces, hey? The caribou populations have been declining rapidly since those have been drilled. This was enough for the scientists in these studies to suggest that we need to drill less wells to help stabilize the caribou numbers.
to piggyback off what Donny just said, these oil wells and pipelines decrease the population of caribou because these pipelines cause increased predation. This is because the wolves hang around the pipelines and as a result eat the caribou. Furthermore, according to a study by environmentalist Johnson, the change in terrain gives the predators better sight lines, which gives them the advantage of predation on caribou.
Okay, but shouldn't we still prioritize our economy over the conservation of caribou, especially during record-breaking inflation rates? According to a study done by Hayes and his team, 2 high-value oil projects were already shut down by the federal government. They're going to produce over 525,000 barrels and 1.1 million barrels of oil per day.
Yeah, and they spent $2 billion on the conservation of caribou in 2021. Why don't we spend this money on repairing our struggling economy? With the increased grocery costs, increased cost of living, many people live paycheck to paycheck, struggling to afford basic daily needs. Shouldn't the government spend this money on prioritizing giving out subsidies to families that are in need? We have bigger problems than caribou dying.
Of course sustaining the economy is important, but who are you to decide that it is more important than sustaining our own earth? Caribou are an umbrella species that play a crucial role in maintaining the ecosystem, health, and biodiversity of the earth. So when you reduce caribou predation, you also improve the overall health of the environment.
Yeah, to back up my partner here, do you not feel any responsibility for the world around us? This focus on money is the reason caribou are dying.
Don't you feel responsible for families losing their children because they can't afford to support them? They get taken away by child support services. They lose their houses to the IRS because they can't afford them?
That's a
What do you think of
stretch.
that?
No, that's a stretch. Now you're just stretching it.
All right. That's enough. Let's spit some facts.
Alright, fact then. In the 2014 study done by Johnson, a conservation ecologist in the University of Northern British Columbia, the growth rates of multiple populations of caribou were compared using the percentage of important habitat loss. In the graph they produced, you can see a clear trend. A higher percentage of habitat loss leads to populations that decline quicker.
I mean, that's a fact. The study was looking at multiple industrial features such as roads and mines, and not all features were found to affect caribou at all. But oil and gas features were found to affect every single caribou population study.
Yeah, that's you guys.
Your point actually has zero relevance in the grand scheme of the entire country, especially the economy. Despite your mentioning of loss of habitats for caribou, your failed caribou conservation.
Okay, what the frick do you mean caribou
shut up and let me finish.
Okay,
They have
calm down.
decreased the value of oil sand land per hectare by over 24%. They also noted that land leases lying entirely within caribou zone boundaries have land auction prices that are 30% lower than the other land leases. Why even bother trying to conserve a dead population and waste the country's money?
Oh my gosh, you dense piece of fudge. Like, the fact that you say caribou population is dead is the problem and the reason why caribou are near extinction. I mean, yes, there have been expensive experiments such as caribou translocation, but there's been evidence of caribou restoration methods that work effectively.
Yeah, exactly. For example, Burns' recent study with the University of British Columbia found that maternity penning and wolf calling have actually been extremely effective methods.
What even are those?
Okay, first, calm down there, buddy. Maternity penning is basically giving special attention to pregnant caribou to keep them safe, and wolf culling is going around and killing a certain amount of wolves to reduce predation.
That makes sense. Wolf culling sounds probably the most valid given our economy and other circumstances.
So what?
Well, shut up, Michael. Let him cook.
Whoa, let's not talk to the co-host like that. All right,
Okay.
next point.
Well, a study done by Hayes also states that economically speaking, there's very little evidence supporting the value of a fully restored landscape versus the value of a partially restored landscape. So that basically means that habitat restoration is not the most effective given this data, so we have to find a different common ground between restoration, caribou restoration, and the economy.
Yeah, we will essentially need to perform numerous cost-benefit analysis in order to properly judge the economic and environmental benefits of each. Who knows how long that's going to take?
Wow, this is getting quite intense. All right then, Rahul. What do we have so far?
The oil specialists have talked about how the economy is currently more important than the caribou conservation issues due to the high inflation rates.
Yeah, the pro-oil duo is also heated on the amount of money being spent on caribou conservation attempts. But on the other hand, the pro-caribou side has piggybacked about the habitat loss of the caribou due to the extraction industry.
Yeah, you're right. The caribou side also mentioned how constantly drilling oil wells in Western Canada has significantly increased the predation of caribou, potentially disrupting the entire ecosystem.
On top of that, David and Donny emphasized solid points about the caribou restoration methods that work effectively, such as maternity penning and wolf culling. Alright, let's see how this ends now. Pro-oil, what's your next point?
Yeah, thank you. Now, on the topic of oil industry as a whole, environmental policies like habitat conservation are often linked to decrease in efficiency in the oil and gas industry. This is backed by historical data. Just look at the time when Canada joined the Kyoto Protocol.
What are you bringing up
Just
the
let me
Kyoto
finish.
Protocol?
The Kyoto Protocol is a treaty to restrict carbon emissions. According to Donny, after Canada joined the Kyoto Protocol in 2002, oil and gas companies were forced to invest in non-productive fields such as environmental auditing. We can extrapolate this to caribou conservation. Investment that can go to making the oil industry more money, making the economy richer, now goes to caribou.
Yeah, and on top of that, according to studies done by Hayes and Leach, oil industries are already paying quite significant government royalties and carbon emissions, the latter being $30 per ton of carbon emissions back in 2017.
Cry me a river.
Now we're adding in more money being taken away due to caribou conservations from land restoration, so how far will it go?
Yeah, facts, man.
Yeah, we were prospering back then before caribou came up. And now look where we are, in a disjointed, two-sided economy. Someone needs to make a change, and it's you guys.
Alright, buddy, we understand the importance of the economy, right? And we're not telling you to just cut the entire industry off.
That's right. We still want Canada to have its important industry, but we need to start taking caribou into account when making decisions. For example, here at UBC, researcher D. Sylvester reported that in the British Columbia's government 2020 performance measures report on oil and gas royalty credit programs, there was no mention of caribou or any ecological impacts at all when considering the consequences of incentivizing further oil and gas development.
In simpler words, for your little brains, the government is not thinking of caribou when making economic decisions. This not only further harms caribou populations, but stops potential conservation efforts. As Johnson pointed out in their study, Government-led recovery of caribou across the South Peace region was made difficult by the significant resource industries, such as oil and gas.
Womp womp.
Yeah, we need to bring the conversation of caribou into more discussion.
Hold up! Don't womp womp me!
You know what? Your points, they have no relevance. The oil industry is by far more effective than caribou conservation. Caribou conservation isn't working right now. We can see that. We have evidence of
Yes,
that.
you're so right. So if it isn't working, let's just take money away from it and then just keep building off the thing that's making it not work.
What about the other species that are dying?
You know, I'm sick of this.
Enough
dude,
of that,
bro.
man.
I'm sick of this dude. Continue.
Yeah, just continue.
Anyways, like Donny was saying, we need to bring the conversation of caribou into more discussions and bring more awareness into the minds of the public, as well as government decision makers. Even though you say it's taking money away from the economy, it also seems like we're not even investing any money into conservation tactics.
Yeah, that's kind of valid. I do believe that we do have significant differences in our arguments. So it's crucial that we do a cost-benefit analysis on this topic.
Loser.
Cost-benefit analyses are beneficial for this because we need to know where to put money.
Both sides have valid evidence-based arguments. Don't you think so, Rahul? And considering the significance of this issue, it's crucial to thoroughly analyze all perspectives before reaching a conclusion.
Yeah, of course. I think it would be very difficult to pick a side.
Yeah, I guess we gotta spread awareness about this ongoing issue in Western Canada to the general public to avoid any irrational decisions and let them decide on this matter.
No, for sure. This is a very complicated issue, and I think people should be making their own informed decisions. There's no right answer, but it's important to start conversations about it. There could be compromises to be made so that both sides are happy.
Wow, that's some quite insightful insight. Yes, there should definitely be compromises for a mutual settlement between the two parties.
You know what? Yeah, we actually think the best plan of attack is simply just having a voice in discussions. We need conservation specialists in these decision-making conversations.
I mean, yeah, exactly. Decision makers just need to be educated on the importance of caribou and their endangerment they're in right now.
Yeah, it's not like the worst thing in the world. That way we can continue our oil industry and we can still protect caribou at the same time. Agreed.
Heartwarming, fellas, but unfortunately, that's all the time we have today. Thanks for tuning in.
And thank you to our guests for joining us and opening up this conversation.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thanks for listening, and have a good day.